Second time. Here's the...
Do we have apologies, do we?
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. As with the dawn service, I would like everyone to take care of their neighbour. It's a bit warm. If you haven't hydrated and you're not feeling particularly well, please get someone to get the ambulance people to come over. We have water bottles available. So stay well. Thank you. Welcome to our 2026 Anzac Day service. This is a service for you people. The service this morning was the dawn service, and that was a service specifically designed for the town, but also for the veterans in particular. I'd like to pass on over now to Uncle Frank from the Gunditjmara peoples for a welcome to country in the smoking bowl. Thank you.
Okay. Here. Hello, everyone. Good to see a great crowd here again. I was actually here this morning. There were welcome and smoke ceremony as well. So I'm back again. So I'll start off by saying Natanwa. That means welcome to country. So good morning, everyone. My name is Frank and I am a local traditional owner and elder. I would like to begin by welcoming you here on the land on which we gathered today, on Peak Wurrong country within the Mar Nation, a place of rich culture, deep story and resilience where we continue to have an ongoing spiritual connection and relationship to the land, animals, waters and skies, and pay my deepest respects to elders past and present. I extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples, as well as all non-Aboriginal people joining us today. This land holds stories that stretch back thousands of years, stories of strength, survival, connection and care for country. Today, as we stand together, we honour not only those ancient stories, but also those who have walked in our more recent history with courage and sacrifice. On this Anzac Day, we remember the fallen, the men and the women who served. We gave, and whoever returned home, we honour the diggers whose bravery was forged in the harshest of conditions, whose mateships became legend, and those sacrifice shapes the spirit of the nation. But I also acknowledge a deeper truth that Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples have long served this country, often without recognition, fighting for a nation that did not always stand equally for them. Their contributions, their courage and their stories are also an important part of this day of remembrance. Today is a day where two histories stand side by side, the world's oldest continuing culture and the legacy of those who served and sacrificed. Both are grounded in resilience. Both are grounded in connection to land, to people and to spirit, lest we forget. Thank you. Okay.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Richard Ridgewell. I'm the President of the RSL here, and we welcome you all today. Thank you for your few words, Frank, and your people. On behalf of the Warrnambool Sub-Ranch, we would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today and pay our respects to the Maar Nation elders, both past, present and emerging. We have some formal apologies. Honourable Dan Tehan, Member for Wannon, and Mrs Jacinta Ermacora, Member for Western Victoria. We welcome the following dignitaries, however, to our 2006 service. Councillor Ben Blaine, the Mayor of Warrnambool, thank you Ben for coming. Roma Britnell, Member for South West, thank you Roma. Councillor Karen Foster from the Moyne Shire, thank you Karen. And Superintendent Melissa Webbers, Divisional Commander of the Western District Police, thank you for coming. And with that I'll hand you back to the Master of Ceremonies, Colin Davies.
Thank you, Richard. I would now like to call on Ms Roma Britnell to give a welcome to the service.
Good morning, everyone. It's my privilege to welcome everyone here today that have come to honour our heroes. As we gather in Warrnambool on Anzac Day, we pause to reflect on the service and sacrifice of those from the southwest who secured the freedoms that all Australians are able to enjoy today. For the 127 people named on the memorial here, coming home was not possible. Their families have stood here year after year, laying wreaths and ensuring their stories endure. Today, I would like to remember Senior Sister Anne Swinton, one of our most highly decorated World War II nurses. Born here in Warrnambool, she was twice mentioned in dispatches and awarded both an MBE and an OBE. After the war, she returned home to become matron of Warrnambool Base Hospital, where I later trained and had the privilege to serve as a nurse. The spirit of Anzac is more than remembrance. We see it in how Australians unite in hardship, through bushfires, floods, drought and crisis, and strengthen our regions simply because we care. The freedoms we hold were earned through courage and duty. It is now our responsibility to carry that spirit forward. Today we honour Anne Swinton and all who served.
Thank you, Roma. I'd like to call on the City Band and the RSL Youth Choir as conductor Maria Carrasco to the hymn The Recessional, please. Thank you, choir and Maria. That was wonderful. It was put together in a very short period of time, so thank you. I'd like to call on King's College Junior School students, Yana Kalea and Ben Gristede, do a poem, The Tribute to Anzac Day by Ken Bunker. Taller than I thought.
With their hair a little whiter, their steps not so quite so sure. Still, they marched on proudly as they did the year before. Theirs were the hands that saved us. Their courage showed the way. Their lives they laid down for us, that we may live today. From Gallipoli's rugged hillsides to the sands of Alamein, on rolling seas and in the skies, those memories will remain. Of airmen and sailors, of Lone Pine and Suvla Bay, the boys of the Dardanelles are remembered on this day.
They fought their way through jungles, their blood soaked desert sands. They still remembered comrades who rest in foreign lands. They remember the siege of Old Tobruk, the mud of the Kokoda Trail, some paying the supreme sacrifice with courage that did not fail. To the icy lands of Korea, the steamy jungles of Vietnam, and the heroic battle of Kapyong and the epic victory at Long Tan. Fathers, sons, and brothers, together they fought and died, so that we may live in peace together, while at home their mothers cried. When the final bugle calls them to cross the great divide, Those comrades will be waiting when they reach the other side.
Such confident young people is wonderful to see. Thank you. We'll have a verse reading now, the Anzac Requiem by King's College senior students, S for the Wacom and Blake Ward. Thank you.
The Requiem. On this day, above all days, we recall those who served in war and who did not return to receive the grateful thanks of the nation.
We remember those who still sleep where they were left, amid the holy scrub in the valleys and on the ridges of Gallipoli, on the rocky and terrace hills of Palestine, in the European fields and the cemeteries of France, Belgium and the United Kingdom.
We remember those who lie asleep in the ground beneath the Libyan desert, in North Africa, the mountain passes and olive groves of Greece and Crete, and the hills of Lebanon and Syria.
We remember those who lie buried in the jungles of Malaya and Burma, in New Guinea and the islands of the Pacific and in our own far north.
We remember those who lie in unknown resting places in almost every land, and those gallant men and women whose grave is the unending sea.
Especially do we remember those who died as prisoners of war, remote from their homeland and from the comforting presence of their kith and kin.
We think of those of our women's services who gave their lives in our own and foreign lands and at sea, and of those who proved to be, in much more than name, the sisters of our fighting men.
We recall too the staunch friends who fought beside our men on the first Anzac Day, men of New Zealand who helped create the name of Anzac, and those who served the United Kingdom, the United States of America and other allied forces.
We think of those gallant Australians who died in Korea, Malaya, Borneo, Vietnam, Iraq and Afghanistan, and in peacekeeping and peace enforcement commitments, assisting to defend the Commonwealth and other countries of the free world against common enemies.
We think of every man and woman in those crucial times died so that the lights of freedom and humanity might continue to shine.
We remember those defence and civil personnel who lost their lives during peacetime service and whilst on humanitarian missions.
May these all rest proudly in the knowledge of their achievements, and may we and our successors in that heritage prove worthy of their sacrifice.
Veterans, distinguished guests and citizens of Warrnambool. A few years ago, we had a program for primary school students here whereby they would come to the RSL. Here they would be introduced to aspects of conflicts associated with Australian history, and in particular World War I, and ironically named the War to End All Wars, and how ironic that is, truly. Students came to this cenotaph and were given photographs of a soldier whose names are etched onto the rear wall behind me. They're asked to find that person. A boy came back to me and he said, I found him. We walked over and compared the information, who, where, when. And I said, you know, he will always only be 23 years old. A look of confusion crossed the boy's face, and I said, and he said, but the war ended 100 years ago. How can he only be 23? I said, true, but he will only ever be 23 years old. So I quoted the ode, they shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, or the years condemn, etc. And I said, look at me, I'm old. I've got grey hair. They never got that privilege, but will ever be the age when they died. And I believe the photograph, along with some information, created a life and realism for those students. So, to last Vietnam Veterans Day on the 18th of August of last year, our service was held down here at the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, just over to my right. At the end of the service, wreaths were laid by families and guests as fitting. And at the service's conclusion, I viewed the wreaths, and one particular sheaf of poppies caught my eye because it had a laminated photograph with details of a deceased soldier attached. It was the beloved brother of a sister who dedicated herself to keeping the memory alive. Now, I can't emphasise enough the dedication of all the families who have every reason not to forget their loved ones. However, that one photo created a spark of interest. What did these other men actually look like? And after relieving a sheep of poppy some days later, the photo simply couldn't be thrown away. So, with some discussion with Vietnam veterans and permission from relatives, we decided to form a photographic memorial to the 4 young men who died in Vietnam, the 4 young men of the Western District. These men too will only be 20 years old. Allow me to pass on a true story. And among the general population here, there exists a not too well-known piece of information pertaining to one of these men. It's Graham Nugget Warburton of 5 Royal Australian Regiment. There was a song at the time in 1966 about Wolverton Mountain and the dangers of going there. And Nugget, if I may use his name, Nugget was teased with these lines by his mate, you know, Wolverton, Warburton. And so he got a really hard time. And the line sort of went, they say don't go on Wolverton Mountain if you're looking for a wife. Because Clifton Clowers has a pretty young daughter and he's mighty handy with a gun and a knife. It was the father protecting his daughters. And so in preparation to going to Vietnam and at Holsworthy Barracks in New South Wales, 5 RAR were being briefed on the Nui Din Hills. These hills were a stronghold of the Viet Cong and a dangerous place to deploy to, with caves, boulders, scrub, jungle. It was situated just 10 kilometres west of Nui Dat, the Australian Task Force headquarters. The intelligence section made up for the briefing a relief mud map, large map, with all the features of their area of operation, which was Phuoc Toi province. The task force area of operation, and during the lecture, a person, Private Colin Illman, and a mate of Graham's, he stood up and said, "That's Warburton Mountain." And during the night, a flag was moved in and put on top of this mountain with the name Warburton Mountain on it. And with typical Australian irreverent, laconic humour, the name stuck. And D Company 5RA took that name, Warburton Mountain, to Vietnam, little knowing the extent to which it would be used and remembered. Because every Vietnam veteran out there would know what the Warburton Mountains were. And nobody actually knew the extent with which it would be used and remembered, because the Warburtons, or the Warbies, as it became known, still there in the memories of all those Vietnam veterans. And that's a true story. So Nugget Warburton was remembered by some hills in Vietnam. A very, very dangerous place to be, the Warbies. I would now like to call on the relatives of these 4 young men with a Vietnam veteran attendant to come up and do an unveiling here. Would the Carroll family come up, please? And Peter Cassidy as a Vietnam Veteran Escort. Would Judy McKenzie, sister of Private Graham Francis Anthony Warburton, Nugget, and Peter Stapleton as her escort. And Pat Scott, sister of Gunner Ian James Scott, with Ken Cummings, a Vietnam veteran. And Bruce Niblett, brother of Private Ralph James Niblett, with James Affleck, a Vietnam veteran. Now the flag around it's wrapped up a little tightly so it didn't blow away with the wind. So would the family members just take a piece of the flag, the Australian flag, and just move it away for the unveiling of a memorial board? And if one of the veterans could take the charge of the flag, please. And if those relatives who would like to lay a wreath on behalf of their brothers, please do so now. Thank you. Get in there, Peter. So just from my perspective, a small photograph on a sheaf of poppies led to looking at people in a different light. We now have faces to names. They're no longer just etched on a wall. They are real people, and they will be front and centre. As you go through the doors of the RSL, they'll be in the foyer up there for everyone to pay a respect to. 4 young men that should never have lost their lives, but they did, serving their country. Thank you. I'd now like to call on Major Rhett Olchin, prayers for peace and a blessed for the fallen. Thank you.
Thank you. Anzac Day for us is a time to pause, to remember those who have fought and died, those who are serving today. It's also a time to reflect and consider what we each can do to bring justice, freedom, hope and peace, and build a better world where justice can take place without the use of war. Let us pray. Loving God, today we pause to remember. We remember the original Anzacs and all those who served in times of peace and conflict. We give thanks for their courage, their sacrifice, and their commitment to justice, freedom, and peace. Compassionate God, today we especially remember Private Ralph Niblett, Private Graham Warburton, Private Bill Carroll, and Private Ian Scott, sons of our people who were killed in action in Vietnam. We remember also those who have returned from serving, carrying visible and invisible wounds, scars of body, mind and spirit. Be close to them. Strengthen them and their family. Help them to know they are not alone and that there are people willing to walk alongside them with care and compassion. Remember those, especially women and children, who have suffered simply because they were caught in the midst of conflict. May they know your presence, your protection, and the peace that only you can give. We hold before you those whose hearts are broken, spouses, parents, families and friends who grieve loved ones who did not return. Surround them with comfort, hope and peace. We grieve for those who, after all they had endured in service to their country, felt overwhelmed by pain and despair. We do not fully understand the depth of their suffering, but we ask that you bear and be near to those who have left behind. May your Spirit bring peace, grace, healing and comfort. We pray for those who are still struggling, whether from past service or present demands. Be with them today. Guide them towards healing, rest and hope. Give us the strength and the courage to notice, to listen, to ask and support those who are doing it tough. Help us in our own families and communities to be the people who seek reconciliation, understanding and peace. May we build a nation where differences is respected, where dignity is upheld, and where the well-being of all people is valued. And today, gracious God, we commit ourselves to the work of justice, freedom, hope and peace. Give us wisdom, strength and grace to build a better world, one shaped by compassion and care. We pray this in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Now I invite you to join together with me in the praying of the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Brett. Call on the catapult party to mount the guard, please. Thank you, Catapult Party, and I think a fitting tribute to the four men in the front here. I'd like to call on a guest speaker from 8th 7th RBR, Lieutenant Lockie Blake. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Anzac Day carries many different meaning for many different people. And in a country where we seem to be more divided than ever, I think today is more important than perhaps it has ever been. It can be difficult to look beyond the noise that surrounds our everyday lives. Today is not a day to worry about which side of a political spectrum you sit, economic challenges, social challenges, or an uncertain geopolitical world. Today, Anzac Day, is a moment for us all to pause, reflect, and remember the sacrifices and service of those that have gone before us and those who continue to serve. From the shores of Gallipoli to the mountains and valleys of Afghanistan, Australian and New Zealand servicemen and women have stood with resilience in the face of adversity. Today we honour not only those who made the ultimate sacrifice, but also those who returned, forever changed by the experiences of war. It is a reminder of the values that continue to shape Australia today: loyalty, courage, and standing by one another when it matters most. On the 25th of April 1915, Australian and New Zealand soldiers landed on the shores of Gallipoli. What was intended to be a short campaign became a brutal test of resolve. Over 8,000 Australians lost their lives there. The conditions were harsh, the terrain unforgiving, and yet the spirit shown, even in the face of death, rose beyond any fear except that of letting down their mates. Gallipoli became the foundation of what we now call the Anzac spirit, but it was only the beginning. On the Western Front, Australian troops fought in places like Fromelles and at Villers-Bretonneux, where a sign at a local primary school still bears the caption, "Do not forget Australia." The sign recalls the 1,200 Australian soldiers who lost their lives on the night of April 24, 1918, while recapturing the village from German forces, and in doing so, turning the tide of World War I. In World War II, Australians again served with distinction. From the deserts of North Africa to the jungles of Papua New Guinea, Australian soldiers gained a strong reputation from their foe as being persistent and difficult to defeat, even in the harshest environments. In more recent history, Australians fought in Korea and were involved in major battles at Kapyong and Samikon River. During the Vietnam War, over 60,000 Australians served in battles such as Long Tan and Coral Balmoral, with over 500 Australians making the ultimate sacrifice. Vietnam once again showed the same determination and professionalism that had defined earlier generations, even in the face of uncertainty and division at home. Today is also about remembering those who continue to serve in peacekeeping, humanitarian efforts, and modern conflicts, upholding the same values forged over a century ago. I also believe today is about supporting your RSL, Legacy, and other organisations involved in supporting veterans and their families. Anzac Day is not about glorifying war, it is about remembering the cost, it is about acknowledging the lives lost, the families forever changed, and the quiet strength of those who returned home carrying the weight of their experiences. So today we pause, we reflect, and we remember them. We honour their courage, their sacrifice, and their legacy, and we ensure that they are never forgotten, lest we forget.
I now call on Richard Ridgewell to recite the Ode. Thank you. shall grow not old.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn.
The going down of the sun.
At the going down of the sun,
And in the morning,
we'll remember.
we'll remember.
We will remember them,
Lest we forget.
lest we forget.
Lest we forget. Thanks, Richard.
Yeah. Sorry.
Could Cadet Sergeant Ben Bolton, please, for the last post. We'll have a silent tribute for 1 minute, then rouse, and the flags go to full mast. Sergeant Ben, please. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen. Those at seat, you can sit now. Thank you. Guard Commander, you dismount the catapult party, please. I'd like to call on now Mr. Turgut Toprak to give Ataturk's message to the fallen and to families, speaking in Turkish. Thank you, Turgut.
Bu memleketin toprakları üstünde kanlarını döken kahramanlar. Burada dost bir vatanın toprağındasınız. Huzur ve sükun içinde uyuyunuz. Sizler Mehmetçiklerle yan yana koyun koyunasınız. Uzak diyarlardan evlatlarını harbe gönderen analar, gözyaşlarınızı dindiriniz. Evlatlarınız bizim bağrımızdadır, huzur içindedirler ve huzur içinde rahat rahat uyuyacaklardır. Onlar bu toprakta canlarını verdikten sonra artık bizim evlatlarımız olmuşlardır.
And in English, Manual College Captain Ruby Nelson, please.
Those heroes that shed their blood and lost their lives, you are now lying in the soil of a friendly country. Therefore rest in peace. There is no difference between Johnnies and the Mennonites to us where they lie side by side here in this country of ours. You, the mothers who sent their sons from faraway countries, wipe away your tears. Your sons are now lying in our bosom and are safe in peace. After having lost their lives on this land, they have become our sons as well.
Thank you, Ruby. Thank you, Ruby. I'd now like to call on the Warrnambool Band with the RSL Youth Choir to play the three anthems: the Turkish National Anthem, New Zealand National Anthem and the Australian National Anthem. Thank you, band.
Yıldızı Türk parlar, tatlı benim.
Thank you, Maria, and the choir. That was fantastic, to say the very least. We move on now to the wreath laying. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have significant wreaths to lay, which is a wonderful tribute. When I get to the schools portion, I'd like to bring 2 schools at a time up to lay their wreaths. Thank you. On behalf of Warrnambool, Councillor Ben Blaine, the Mayor of Warrnambool. A wreath from the Honourable Dan Tehan MP. A wreath from Ms Jacinta McCormack MLC, Member for Western Victoria. Ms Roma Britnell, Member for South West Coast. Ms Karen Foster from Moyne Shire. The Warrnambool Sub-Branch. Should be one there somewhere. Oh, these things happen. RSL Active. A Warrnambool Legacy. A Warrnambool Laurel Club. The Vietnam Veterans Association. Rats of Trabuc. National Servicemen's Association. The Order of Australia Association. The Gunditjmara Aboriginal Cooperative. 87th Royal Victoria Regiment. .413 Squadron Royal Air Force Cadets and 314 Australian Army Cadets, please. Victoria Police, Warrnambool. An Ambulance Victoria. Fire Rescue Victoria and Warrnambool Fire Brigade, the CFA. Warrnambool SES. Warrnambool Surf Lifesaving Club. the Coast Guard of Warrnambool, Southwest Healthcare, and St John of God Hospital, Southwest Health Mental Health Services, Lindock Living, Warrnambool Masonic Lodge, and Rotary Club of Warrnambool, the Daybreak Club, along with the Rotary Club of Warrnambool East. Deakin University, and Southwest TAFE, the Inner Wheel Club of Warrnambool, and the Warrnambool Shipwreck Day Club. AW Monday. And 3YB. Warrnambool Scouts and Guides and the Turum Cub Scouts. The Clontarf Foundation Warrnambool Academy. Brow College and Warrnambool College. Emmanuel College and King's College. Marai Special Development School along with Allansford District Primary School. Cudgee Primary School and Grasmere Primary School. Don't you just love this slouch hat coming through? And a Rattlebrook hat too. Nullawarre and District Primary School with St John's Primary School. And St Joseph's Primary School. Our Lady Help of Christians Primary School and St Pius Primary School. Warrnambool Primary School and Warrnambool East Primary School. Warrnambool West Primary School and Woolsthorpe Primary School. Woodford Primary School and Halls Gap Primary School. Wreath for Des King. And Warrnambool Bowls Club. And 360 Southwest. A Rotary Club of Warrnambool. And the Lions Club. The Seventh-day Adventist Church. The Warrnambool Men's Shed. And Padres of Christchurch, Warrnambool. Are there any further wreaths out there that would like to be laid? Or if anyone's got a private wreath that they would like to lay, please do it now. Thank you. Something I failed in my duties to the young people. While that was supposed to be happening, I was supposed to ask the young people if they would like to put a poppy in the board over on my right over here. There is a board similar to this big board here. If you'd like to take a poppy from the Scouts over there and put it in the board as a memory, please do so. You're more than welcome. We would love you to do that. Any children would like to partake in that? And my apologies for not doing it sooner. Want to wind it up, Richard? Yeah.
It's just with you, you must be in need of a...
Yeah, totally.
Ladies and gentlemen, while that's happening, I'd like to thank you all for coming today. We really appreciate your attendance, and I'd like to thank you for coming, and I'd like to thank the veterans for coming as well. I'd also like to thank Colin, who has organised today's day, and it's gone off really well. Thank you, Colin. Yeah. I'd also like to thank our special guests for making themselves available. So just before we do end, I guess many of you have heard that the RSL over the last couple of years has been in some financial trouble, and I can announce that as of yesterday, the creditors of the RSL have voted to allow us to stay open, which is great news for us and the Warrnambool community. So there's lots of hard work still for the committee to go ahead, but needless to say, if you haven't tried the restaurant, give it a go. We're more than welcome to see everybody up here. And I guess lastly, travel safely on the way home, and thank you very much for your attendance.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen. Look, I'd just like to give a big call out to our staff at the RSL. This morning's breakfast was absolutely incredible, wonderful turn up, and the breakfast just keep coming, and the chefs and the people on waiting and doing the organising there, I can't thank them enough for the effort that they put in. So thank you, staff. Also, I'd like to thank the band out here and the choir for what a wonderful, wonderful job. And our members of the Armed Forces who did the catapult party this morning. Thank you once again. Yep. And finally, we are dismantling myself. We're dismantling all the gazebos and taking things down. If anyone would like to stay behind after lunch at about 1 o'clock, we'd be more than welcome to help. It finally did it. More than welcome to give us a hand to do that. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your attendance. It's wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks, Cole. Thank you so much. Thanks, Cole. Pleasure. It's great. No, that was good. Thank you, sir. That was fantastic.